Shadow Legends video. Today I am joined by big Poppa Drock. Drock, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me on, Hades.
It's awesome. Look, so basically, since the Primal Shards dropped, there's been this kind of like big, I guess, blow up in the community about how people feel about it. Drock, you're a self-professed Kraken, I guess, from my clan, and you wanted to kind of give your view. So I just give people a bit of a sense of, you know, how long you've been playing the game for. Why do you kind of class yourself as a Kraken? You know, what does that mean in your eyes?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been playing Raid for just over, I think, 2.5 years now. So quite a decent amount of time.
Okay.
Not as long as some, though. Obviously, you've been playing longer than me.
Sure.
And I would say that I would classify myself as a Kraken. If you look at like the live arena leaderboard, I'm currently number 12. I have one of the
Nice.
Yeah, one of the highest win rates on the entire live arena board. I've spent God knows how much money on this game.
Yeah.
So, we've talked about this in the past, I think, but there are different levels, right? You've got your free to play, your low spender, your whales, and I think I'm definitely in that Kraken conversation. And yes, as you mentioned, we are clan mates. So
yeah. So I mean, just looking at this. In fact, you're in the way on my screen for a second. I'm just going to move you for a sec. 87% win rate.
Yeah.
On live arena. That's actually kind of insane, considering you are, as you say, like right up there in the top of this group.
Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty
for
nuts.
a while there. I had the top percentage on the entire leaderboard, but I think now there's like one or two people who are a percentage point or two above me. But yeah, it's hey, this is my claim to fame, right?
Yeah, but interestingly, so you've done 900 odd battles versus some of the people around you, like up to 3,000 I'm seeing, but most of them probably between 1,000 and 2,000.
Yeah, a lot of people.
I mean, how do you find it? How do you find it? Obviously, generally Krakens are arena focused. Is that kind of where you're at?
100%. Yeah, I don't really take any interest in PvE at all. It's not the part of the game that excites me. I am 100% driven by the arena, both classic and live. So my entire account is structured towards that aspect of the game for sure.
Yeah. And I guess for people that don't know, so you've been a content creator for a while now. Just want to kind of talk about that side as well. You know, what do you focus on? And
yeah, sure, absolutely.
do
Yeah, so I've been an official content creator, I think, for the last like 5 or 6 months, but creating raid content for the last couple of years. And I have to say, like, I love that aspect of doing this. You know, the community, I think, both in content creators and also just in clans, is amazing. Is one of the best parts of playing raid. So getting the opportunity to kind of show people what a Kraken account looks like and walk them through live arena battles on stream and kind of give them my thought process from the perspective of, okay, this guy spent a ton of money on the game. He's a very high-end arena player. What does that look like, you know, in practice? Because most people obviously haven't done that. And their wallet and their bank account thanks them very much. Whereas mine does not.
Yeah, I mean, man, I've literally just gone onto your champions here.
Yeah.
Wow. It's not even just that they're all +4s. You've got 6-star blessings on a lot. And if not, then like 4-star on most of the, what I would class as a lot of meta champions.
Yeah, I've wailed hard,
wow.
Hades. I've wailed hard.
For sure.
There are people that have wailed harder than I have, which is what's scary. But I'm definitely in that, you know, top 25 probably conversation in terms of overall account.
Yeah, because I mean, my account, I've said this a number of times on my channel, right? My account is strong and I've farmed gear, you know, a lot over the time that I've played the game. So I feel like my account is advanced. But if I compare my account even to yours, and like you say, you've played for probably 1.5 years less than I've played.
Yeah.
I mean, damn, it looks like we're playing a different game. Like you've just got +4s, if not +3s. I mean, who's some of your best builds for damage, would you say?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy because you would definitely be someone I would classify as a whale, right? Like you have a very strong account, but then it just shows you the differences between that and Krakens and Ultra Krakens and Leviathans or whatever else. So
yeah, for sure.
In terms of like builds right now, you could look at my Rhodos, you could look at my Georgid build is really strong. My Kymar, the +4 Kymar is built for like arena, like super high resistance. So this is only a +2 Georgid, but if you look at the stats, like notice the speed and then also the attack.
That is absolutely absurd, that speed.
Yeah, I actually had him up at 300 before, but then his attack was only like 7,400, and so I needed to boost his attack back up for classic
Yeah.
arena. So,
I
and
mean,
this
it
is
just
only
shows.
+2. This
Yeah,
is only +2.
It just shows that the amount of power creep that's happened in the game probably over the last year or so, really, or probably 18 months or so. But I guess we're kind of going off topic a little bit because, you know, I've been around from back in the day where, you know what, faction wars dropped. You know, we were asking for some sort of dupe system, and then eventually we got one, and we got empowerment. Then we got blessings. Then we got, you know, the various other, like the ascension of gear. So there's been a number of things that I've seen, and almost with every iteration of one of the serious power creeps, I'd say empowerment was one, blessings has been another, and gear ascension's been another. Yeah. We've always kind of seen this kind of like outflow of a certain number of Krakens, because it's like basically they're just saying, look, I don't want to keep up with that level of spend. You know, I've done that. I'm going to move on. Now with the new shard system, we're definitely seeing that again. And really, I just wanted to get your take on it, because you're obviously someone who's not, you know, uncomfortable with buying a shard pack and buying these kind of soul packs, all that type of stuff. We can see that in your account. So
yes,
yeah. Talk us through your feelings then with the Primal Shards.
I think, you know, before they launched the Soul Stones, I had my reservations because I knew, just looking at the way that the RNG worked and the wish list only being a 2x, and I said to myself, man, this is a real Kraken feature here. It's going to be very hard to get certain souls, certain ascensions, whatever, of those souls. And that proved to be true. Now, I've been relatively lucky, and I've also spent a massive amount of money to get my account to where it is.
Sure.
But I think we're hitting a completely different level here with Mythic Shards. And the sentiment around the game right now, in my opinion, is probably the most negative that I have felt since I started playing 2.5 years ago. In that, looking at the price of the Mythic Shards, looking at the drop rates of champions from the Primal Shards, it's really gotten to a point where I'm kind of like, you know what? I think that's it for me in terms of spending, because it just, we all know that this game, if you want to go super end game, you have to drop cash. You know what I mean? You don't have to play the game. You can play it free to play. You can play it low
fairness,
spend.
you can play any area of the game totally free to play. I'd say with the exception of Arena. You can play Arena, obviously. You can get to Gold 5 very easily free to play. But if you want to play end game, competitive Arena, you have to be a spender, really. You didn't necessarily need to be a spender before, but with the added kind of empowerments, all that type of stuff, all the things we've spoken about already, that moved it from someone who just has to play for a long time to actually, no, you do need to be a quite heavy spender to compete in that world. But you're saying that actually the Primal Shards, you think, has perhaps gone just a step further than that.
It's too far. There's really no other way to put it. And you know, I hate to say it because I'm passionate about the game. I love the community around it. I love my clanmates. But this is crazy. I mean, each one of these shards is 8 times as expensive as a regular ancient shard. Yeah. Still drops rare champions at a 82%? Yeah, 82.5% rate. I mean, the thing is that at some point you hit that line where you just look and you say, this is nothing but unabashed greed. And my contention is this is not good for the long-term health of the game. You know, like, people want to make money, obviously. PLARIUM is a business. But this is just directly like, hey, we're going to take all the money out of your pocket. You're going to get close to nothing for it. And that's just like, it's hit a line where I'm just not willing to spend anymore.
So there's two things. Like, how much did you expect the shards to be, and what would have been like more like a fair price, do you think, for these new forms of shards? That's one question. And then a second thing I was going to say was, you know, if the quality of the mythical champions was higher, does that change your opinion from the price point?
So I'm going to answer your second question first, because I think it's important relative to the cost. And the answer is absolutely not. No way. Even if they made mythics more powerful, they're too hard to obtain. When you look at rates from getting the Primal Shards, and also currently the only way to get Primal Shards in the entire game is tied to a competitive Hydra mode with your clanmates. That's crazy. And I know they've said they're going to introduce a PvE aspect to try to get some of these shards. But again, they've also increased the mercy. Now it's a 300 shard pool instead of a 200 shard pool. Like, that's just a giant slap in the face for everyone who's a player of the game, whether you're free to play or a Kraken. That's crazy.
This mercy system, for me, is the most shocking PR move I've ever seen. Like, why would you, like, even if you were going to drop it in this way, why would you not just equalize it to what's already going on with Ancient Voids? It's not like you're not making good money on that. Like, if you're done with this price point, why the hell would you put a worse mercy system in? It baffles my brain, honestly. I can't comprehend the logic.
It's crazy to me. It's crazy to me because it's so disrespectful to the player base. I mean, like, there's really no other way to put it. And again, I love the game. I'm passionate about it. But you got to call it as you see it. And why they would do that and just destroy any kind of goodwill that might be here, because the mythic champions themselves look cool and artistically are interesting and the skills are interesting as well. But when you pay wallet this hard, all you're doing is pissing people off. And people like me who spend on the game, who kind of keep it going, right? Like, they're relying on people like me to toss out massive amounts of cash to keep the servers running, right? Well, they hit a wall. And as it comes down to price, to answer your first question, what did I expect? I mean, I expected PLARIUM to give us something absurd, you know what I mean, to make it hurt. And you know, like Ash thought, I thought it would probably be a system that was a little over the top. But I mean, I was hoping for something more in the range of 3 to 5 per shard, which I think is more reasonable, slightly more expensive than a void shard for a mythic champion. Because look, we don't even have mythic voids in here. So what is it going to be even worse? It's going to be $10 a shard for a mythic void. Is that the precedent that we're setting here? It's ludicrous.
It is insane. And I will say this, and I know I've been called out on this already in previous videos, right? So when they first dropped Soul Stones, they basically had it at minimum $1, or it was actually more than that. It was like $1.50 or so per shard or per soul stone. And I remember at the time saying, I will not buy any of these soul stones. Like, there's absolutely no chance I'm buying a single one at that price, even though I know that blessings now on my account at its current level, blessings make more of an impact than pulling shards for me. So if I get like a good 4-star plus blessing, that's more impactful than like +1 and +2 at the moment for me. But what happened, though, is they came in with these offers, and they're not far off it now, but they're a bit, you know, they're close enough. But they got them down to, in their special offer packs now and then, 50 cents a soul stone. And for me, at my spending level, doing content creation, all that sort of stuff, that's a level that I'm more comfortable with to spend. Okay, so I hold my hands up, and beforehand I said I wouldn't buy them at all, but they got them to a level where I was like, you know what, now I'm comfortable. This is a level where I feel like this is okay. So I buy those packs when I see them at like 50 cents or so per soul stone, right? So the question is going to be like, okay, maybe they're doing the same job here of just, you know, settling us in for, this is the regular price, and you know what? It's Christmas. We're now going to half the price or whatever it's going to be. Maybe it won't be half, but let's say that we're going to take a third of this price off. Does someone like yourself then step up and say, you know what? Now I'm comfortable. I'm more comfortable with that. So, you know, I'm just going to pick those packs up when they feel like a good deal, you know?
I would, you know, it's a great question. And the answer is maybe, but the mercy system still leaves a really bad taste in my mouth. You know what I mean? Like, to me, when I look at, okay, you're monetizing this game, you want to create a revenue stream, but you want to still at the same time maintain a player base and keep people happy. Well, this is not how you do it. You know, and you look around the community and you see big name creators like a Machan leaving the creator, you know, essentially community. You see also other ultra Krakens. You hear about them in different clans who are like, hey, I'm walking away. This is my final step. Like, that's bad for the long-term health of the game. Like, that's not.
I tell you, I've got someone in my Discord who will absolutely challenge you on that, and I agree actually. Like we want people to want to continue playing the game. There's also something where someone like McChan, it's kind of like, was he already tired of the game? And if he was tired of the game and he was kind of teeter on the edge of leaving, and this pushed him over the edge, then that's slightly different. Like if you're loving the game, I'm loving the game, I'm competing every week, plat reset, and then suddenly something flips a switch and you're like, I'm no longer going to enjoy this game, then I appreciate that. But I think McChan might have actually been in the point of kind of a bit tired of the game.
I think that's true, but I think it also boils down to PLARIUM's approach to 10x events. You know what I mean? Where you're pulling a bunch of shards.
It's relentless. It's
and
like
you can't get a Taurus, you can't get a Marichka, and now you can't. Now you're struggling to compete in that top end arena, and you've spent thousands to try to make it happen, right? And I think that had a lot to do with his maybe frustration with the game, and then also for me personally, like the drum that I beat all the time as a high end arena player is, please nerf Polymorph for real. Like that's the thing that I think takes the most enjoyment out of the game for me. But it's a good point, right?
Well, let me just circle back to the McChan thing, and then we'll talk about Polymorph and some of these other champions actually. But the one thing that someone in my Discord, Senti, would say is raid ignore account selling, right? So they let it go under the carpet, because if someone like McChan leaves, or someone else uses a Hyper Kraken, actually their account does not just disappear. A new Kraken buys that account, and then they start their Kraken spending from that point. So it's like, and actually because they haven't got the sunken cost of 50k, whatever it is, 100k, like could be some of these sort of numbers, right? They haven't got that yet. So they're quite happy to come in and buy these new shards, because they've not experienced the cost base of everything else. And then they wail out on these new shards, and Ray's just sitting there like, we're going to ignore this problem, because why wouldn't we? Basically, that's the kind of like back of house economy of this game, is that it's easy to turn a blind eye on that stuff when you know that the next one's just going to roll in and do the same thing.
Sure. I think there's a lot of truth to that. The one thing I would say though is there's only so many Krakens. You know what I mean? And even if you're taking over someone's account, eventually you hit the wall as well. But I do
for sure.
You raise a really good point though, because that absolutely happens for sure.
Yeah, but I think from what I understand, so like I dabble in plat pushes and stuff like that, but my account unfortunately doesn't hold its own anymore. And I'm like, I dip in right at the end to try and get myself into plat, but I can't compete in plat. I don't have a defense which can win basically, and that's a fact. So every time I rise too high, I get absolutely smashed back out of plat. But it seems to me that for the people that really fight seriously in plat, there's three things which have been a problem, and one of them is this fella Taras, in terms of his power level. Obviously, Marichka goes into that same bracket, so I know you got a +2 Marichka somewhere.
There
so
she
Marichka
is right
as well. Oh yeah, there she is.
Yeah.
Obviously, these two having such a crazy power level. I mean, what's your view? Should there be nerfs for champions like this, or are you totally anti-nerfs? How would you feel about that sort of stuff?
I am definitely not anti-nerfs. And look, I've got almost every champion in the game. But again, like the way I look at it is I want long-term health, long-term viability. And when you have champions like this, which are so clearly OP, and you don't have to nerf them to the ground, they can still be really good, but you can make it so they're not so incredibly dominant. And the example I use, and this actually happened, I think, before I even really started playing seriously, was, look at Sifi, look at Rotos.
True. Yeah.
They dominated arena. Rotos block revived on everything, but PLARIUM stepped in and for the good of the game adjusted the champion. Now, Rotos is still an amazing champion.
He's still basically an end game arena focused champion, right? So it's not like the nerf took him out of the meta. In fact, I remember doing a video, I think it was called He Will Rise, and it was like, this guy is still going to be around. Like, people were absolutely like, basically hammering PLARIUM for the nerf and that type of stuff. But I was like, look, this guy is still top draw. And of course he is. And that's kind of shown through and through, certainly in arena. But yeah, but the adjustment to his kit basically means that his block revive is almost non-existent nowadays.
Yeah, it's a lot harder to trigger. And I think
Yeah.
that the tough thing for Plarium is obviously in this game, you commit resources to level these champions up. You commit resources to make them strong. So you don't want to overreact and nerf something so hard into the grounds that you end up with like a Eurogrim situation or whoever it was last year where they completely decimated the champion. But at the same time, like when you look at arena or live arena and you see the same 5 to 10 champions on every single team for the course of 9 or 10 months, that's an issue. And it's funny because there are multiple ways to solve it, right? You could solve it by balancing the champions. And I've talked in the past about simple, small things you could do to balance both of these champions. But you know what the real culprit is here is Polymorph. Because Marichka and Taurus both would be significantly easier to counter and to deal with if you did not have to concern yourself with any type of polymorph action. You could place a block passive on them, and you wouldn't have to
it's almost like Romantu's just out the window because of polymorph, and he was really the big counter to this type of champion, wasn't he?
He's not even usable in super high-end arena. He is usable if someone doesn't have a 6-star blessing, but if you take a look at Platinum Arena on reset day, almost every single person is going to have 6-star champions with polymorph, either 2 or 3 of them. And so you're stuck in this place where the counters to these champions you can no longer use.
Yeah. I mean, what I would say, before the change to polymorph, which they've done, it felt like almost every blessing on an arena champion was polymorph. Like, almost everyone. So even like offensive champions, it felt like people were running polymorph. So have you noticed quite a step back from that? Like, are you starting to see a bit more variety now, or not really at high end?
A teeny tiny bit. If someone doesn't have 6 stars on their champion, yes, then they most likely will not be putting polymorph on there unless they've specifically built the champion with enough accuracy. Because I have seen UDKs that still have polymorph and have 400 accuracy and can still land that sheep debuff. But at the ultra high level, it's still a nightmare. You know, the nerf, and I think Saphira talked about this in one of his videos when they first initiated the nerf. The nerf didn't do anything for the high-end arena player, and it's still a massive problem just in every aspect of PvP in the game, because it is the most RNG, frustrating, just team-destroying effect because you cannot counter it, except unless you pulled Shuzen on that last 10x. Then now you can counter it. So it's definitely still a massive problem.
This is one of the things, right? So they tend to try and fix issues within their game by releasing a new champion rather than fix a core problem. They actually tend to fix by releasing a champion, which again doesn't bode well for kind of future balancing and stuff like that.
No.
So I mean, where are you at? Are you at a point where you're still going to be happy to buy soul packs, still happy to buy the normal shards, but you're kind of abstaining from primal shards, or are you just kind of, talk us through what difference has it made to you then?
I'm done with all shard buying. Like, honestly, this has rubbed me so wrong and has just been such a ridiculous implementation of a system that I am not buying a single shard until they start actually implementing some of these changes or actually balancing some aspects of this game. I don't even think I would buy soul stones at this point. Like, the only thing I would consider buying would be possibly energy packs to just, go harder in Fire Knight or in, Dragon to get better gear. Because my whole contention is that you can't treat your player base like this and expect them to keep coming back. Eventually, at some point, they've hit a wall. They cross that line. And for me personally, and I know for other Ultra Krakens like me, they have definitely crossed that line here, for sure.
For sure. Well, I agree. Like, I will hold firm that there's absolutely no way I'm buying Primal Shards. My price point was basically like, I see Void Shards in these pure Void packs at somewhere close to 250. Right, so I was thinking if Primal Shards came in at, call it 3 to 350, then I could be on board with that if I felt like the champions were worth it and would make a difference, all that type of stuff. But ultimately, like you say, it's not just the price point; it's also the mercy system is extremely punishing.
Yeah,
and I think just a joke. Honestly, I really feel like it's a joke that they've already got a particularly high mercy system for void shards. I'd say void shards is one that stick out to me because they're expensive.
Oh yeah,
voids and ancients.
Well, think if you're a free to play player, right? Like obviously people like me buy all these shards, but think if you're free to play or you're a low spender, you over the course of a year get up and you end up pulling 200 void shards. Like over you finally get to your mercy, and then you pull a champion like Angar or Jing Wang or Fortis. And just how devastating is that to you, the player? Well, now imagine it, but it's mythics, and it's potentially as many as 300 shards to pull that cost $8 a pop.
Yeah. Or, like you say, it's just so, at the moment anyway, there's so few ways to get them.
Yeah.
That it's kind of like, and I know they've spoken about there is going to be some sort of PvE system, but I don't know if they've already delivered it, honestly. I think I wouldn't put it past PLARIUM to be like, this is the PvE system.
You never know. That's the thing. But like even this system is so ludicrous.
It's awful, right? So Hydra Clash
terrible.
Anyway is, in my opinion, not good.
It's
mainly
horrible.
because
nobody likes Hydra Clash. Like PLARIUM has delivered a couple good things over the last year and a half, 2 years that are interesting, that are quality of life improvements. This is not one of them. This is not what people wanted. I mean, nobody's jazzed up about, oh, baby, I can't wait to fire up Hydra and jump on that Infinity team and watch
although,
Cadaver.
I'll be honest, right? If that Cadaver team hadn't been found, which that could have been that's been around for a long time. No one was running it. Okay, so if that hadn't been found, I actually think Hydra Clash is not a bad concept. Like
it would have been better. It would have been better for sure.
Because I see some of the kind of people that are very end game in my Discord, and they're basically asking me, like, where are you guys? Why are you not competing with us in Hydra Clash? And I'm like, well, most of the clan don't want to spend an hour and a half manually in a run. There's just, it's a lot of time commitment to do that. So
and look at the scores.
Abstaining. But I
mean, look at this. You're in our clan. You're in Sacred Pandas. We have a pretty good clan with a lot of end game players. But I mean, we've got almost 600 billion. 600 trillion.
Yeah,
I don't even know.
We're a tenth of Aftershock.
Aftershock,
It's ridiculous. But anyway, I mean, we kind of like, we can move on. But it's, the implementation of this. I mean, per week. Why do they even have this kind of like quartz? Like, it's so ridiculous.
I can't understand it.
Just have shards in there, surely. Like,
I mean, and the amount is just hilarious because they're giving you 30. If you get number one, you're getting 30, potentially 30 pieces, which means you'd have to do an entire month of Hydra Clash in the first number one spot just to get one shard with a 0.5% chance to pull a mythical champion.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's just crazy.
Oh, man. I don't know. Well, look, I mean, thanks for coming on, Drock. It's been really interesting getting your thoughts. I know that, I've heard a lot of feedback from the community from a free-to-play perspective saying that, this is the worst thing for the game. I thought it'd be good to get you on from a Kraken perspective because this was my thoughts. Exactly this. Krakens don't like this any more than free-to-players do. And that's an important message, I think, to get out there. So I guess, look.
We're united. We're united here. Free to play and Kraken. We are one on this. This is not a good thing for the game. And I think it's important to note all of this comes from a place of passion, right? We like this game. We've played this game potentially for years. We love the communities that are around it. We just want to be able to enjoy it without having monetization be so aggressive on every single new feature that it sucks the fun out of it. That's all.
Yeah. Yeah. But basically, every time they launch something, instead of it being a PR success, it becomes an absolute travesty because everyone's just like, well, this is another monetization strategy. It's not. And I know there needs to be a balance in those. I know that. Yeah. I run businesses. I know that stuff.
They got to make money. I'm all for that. Make your money, baby. Make your money. But not this egregiously. That's all.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Drock, I'm going to put your YouTube and your Twitch down below for people to come and find you. And dude, thanks for coming on. Any final words?
Oh man, Hades, thanks so much for having me. You know, like many people that get into Raid, you were my gateway content creator. You know what I mean? You were the first person I watched, you and Ash. So to get to do a collab with you is a real pleasure. And again, to get to have you in Sacred Pandas has been awesome. So just thank you so much for letting me come on and rap with you about this. And I hope Plarium listens, and I hope they're open to feedback. That's all really I can ask for.
Awesome. Well, look, guys, let us know what you think down below in your comments. I've been Hell Hades with Drock. We'll see you later.
See ya.